everyone, to another special episode of The Buck Stops Here, the official podcast and program of NotInHallOfFame.com. And I'm Kirk Buckner, the Buck, and I run NotInHallOfFame.com, the Fictitious Athlete Hall of Fame, the Fictitious Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and the United States Athletics Hall of Fame. Something big's going to be coming out of that pretty soon. And I've got with me today the daughter of a legend and a pretty good basketball player in her own right, Maya Monroe, daughter of Earl Monroe, one of NBA's 75 greatest players ever.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Well,
I'm excited to be here.
It's really my pleasure. And I've had the chance to talk to a lot of the offspring of some famous athletes, but in this case, I really want to talk more about what you've been doing and some of the ways that you've been using sport to sort of give back. But kind of before we do that, I always ask this to everyone who was highly recruited. And you went to Georgia Tech to play your college ball. And I've got to ask, how does somebody who went to high school in New Jersey wind up in Georgia Tech?
So, quite by happenstance, actually a friend of a friend who was a professor at Georgia Tech found out about me and sent the coach my way. I was actually a much more highly recruited track high jumper than a basketball player, unfortunately, but just because I went to a smaller school in Jersey. But I wanted to play basketball, and I always wanted to play in the ACC. It was my dream to go to North Carolina, but God sent me to Georgia Tech, which has been just a blessing in itself. I've had a great education, met so many great people, and I'm a yellow jacket for life.
Awesome. Yeah, I always get a kick out of that because it seems like every time I'm talking to somebody, they never wind up even remotely close to where they grew up.
True, true, true. Yeah, and for me, it was important to kind of have that college experience of being away from home and kind of being on my own and growing up. So Georgia was just a 2 hour plane ride away, but far enough away that I could kind of make my own space out of Earl Monroe's shadow. So
I can only imagine to a certain degree. I sort of made a similar decision for my college, although no one was recruiting me for anything.
yeah, it was a great decision, and I got a chance to meet and go to school with a lot of great people, Chris Bosch and Jarrett Jack and uh, Calvin Johnson, just to name a few. Nisha Butler, who was a phenomenal women's player, and I actually, growing up, I actually really admired Nisha. She was from here in the Bronx. And so when the opportunity came to go to Georgia Tech and she was there, I definitely jumped at that chance. So it ended up being the right place for me at the right time.
I didn't even put that together because I'm a big Raptors fan, as you may have deduced from my Canadianness. So,
yeah, Bosh,
yeah, Bosh would have been there 2004.
Yeah, we actually, the women's team, we actually took him and Jared on their visits at Georgia Tech. We always kind of hung out, the two teams. So, I've known him a long time and he's done incredibly well. And we're super proud to have him as a Yellow Jacket.
That's crazy. So, like, you've got a father in the Hall of Fame, a good friend in the Hall of Fame, too, that you went to school with. Like, that's.
Oh, I know a couple of Hall of Famers.
I'm sure you
do. So, yeah, definitely. That's definitely two totally different generations and a different style of basketball and a different NBA. So it is good to have both of those perspectives because.
Did you play after, like, in Europe or North America
No,
after?
no, 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 no. So basketball for me was a means to an education. Like I never had any aspirations, especially in my generation. Now I sound old, but there wasn't a lot of opportunity and especially financial success and freedom in women's sports. So that was never an aspiration of mine. It really was just an opportunity to get a great education, and that is even more evident. Like I probably didn't have the best playing experience there. I didn't play a whole lot, but I didn't transfer either because I was at top educational institution, and I had a great set of friends and a great background to move on in life. So that was what was most important for me.
Now, in your career now, you're giving back, and I was doing a bit of research on you on some of the things that you're doing, and then you sent off a few other things that I wasn't aware of, and I'm really awestruck in a lot of the ways that you're using athletics, but not just in your home area of New York, but in Africa and like around the world. And I'd like to hear more about that.
Absolutely. So, basketball is a great equalizer.
Mhm.
It bridges gaps, cultures, languages. Any place you go, you can roll out a ball, and any ball, not just basketball, and kids know what to do with it. So, I've been raising a family where to whom much is given, much is expected, and we've always given back. My grandmother, not my father's mother, but she was from Honduras, and our home was like the halfway point between America. Probably half of the Hondurans in New York probably came through my house, and my dad, just watching him growing up, he was one of the first supporters of the Harlem Junior Tennis Program here in New York City, and he had a program called Upward Bound, which taught kids about careers in sports. So he's always gone above and beyond to give back. So it's something that's just been ingrained in me. So really over the past couple of years, and I've really kind of blossomed in that field, and that has actually become my career. I started off in PR and marketing. I coached a little basketball, but this is where I found my real passion is, and so I'm just taking off with that. We have a few initiatives. You can see me right here, United to Beat Malaria. We launched a partnership with them for World Basketball Day back in December of 2023. And for those of you who don't know, malaria uh, is, is something that kills about 25% of the population in Africa. And it's something that's easily treatable and preventable. And back in 2006, Rick Riley at Sports Illustrated
Oh,
wrote
okay.
an article called Nothing But Nets. And it really just showed the comparison between the nets that we use for sports and how they're saving lives in Africa. And through that, it launched a whole initiative and foundation. The UN Foundation launched United to Beat Malaria, and we've just been trying to raise some funds and get some great ambassadors involved to really get the word out there that it takes just a small amount, and you, me, my son could contribute and help to save a child's life. $10 buys a whole treatment package, including education, nets, and vaccinations for somebody in Africa. So that's one of the things that I've really been steadfast in promoting, but just using basketball as a means to educate and uplift societies. And, the NBA, NBA Africa, and the BAL are really making strides throughout the continent. So why shouldn't basketball be at the head of all of these great social health initiatives? So that's one of the things. There's a couple of others that we're launching right here in New York or in the U.S. The WNBA has lost three young women under the age of 50 to breast cancer in the past year alone.
Oh, wow.
And um, so Nikki McRae Penson, Tasha Butts, and Lauren Jackson all passed, and they were all under the age of 50. And so I've been working with a company, trying to help a company called Bexa Equity Alliance to get screening programs. And we hope to use the WNBA as a vehicle to do that, because it's an issue that is pertinent to them as players, but for the WNBA, with their growth really over the past really 6, 7 months, they're in a great position to kind of take the lead and take the voice in getting the word out there to young women to get tested, because it's not our grandmothers and mothers. Yes, they're being diagnosed with breast cancer alone as well, but it's young women like myself who are like 40 and 35 who fall outside the normal parameters for screening and testing guidelines that are being the most effective. And we're the heads of our home. We're the nucleus that holds it all together. So when we're not healthy, no one's healthy. And that goes the same in Africa for malaria and other countries that malaria affects as well. So those are like two of the big initiatives that we are working on this year. And in addition, my dad started, along with Dan Corris, the Earl Monroe New Renaissance basketball school in the Bronx. And their motto is a book and a ball can change the world. And it's so true. Again, a book is a great equalizer. Oftentimes, it gives kids a chance to escape their circumstance, if only just for that moment, and also gives them knowledge and hope for the future that they can look beyond their circumstances or beyond their wildest dreams. So, we hope to give out 20,000 books and balls on the continent of Africa this year
Oh, wow.
as part of that, and that'll just be an extension of what they're doing in the Bronx already. So,
So
mm,
on your LinkedIn profile, you've got the flag of Ghana. So I imagine that that's become obviously the whole continent is special to you from this
mhm.
conversation. But if that's the flag there, then I have to ask: is there sort of a personal connection that you feel?
So absolutely. So yes. So I actually got involved with the Ghana Basketball Association
Mhm.
about 2.5 years ago, uh, and really Ghana as African Americans is very similar to us culturally and economically. And you see this whole big year of the return that has turned into a 10-year project, a 10-year initiative there. So there are so many diaspora returning to Ghana. And Ghana, unfortunately, is not in the NBA's big plans right now. It falls outside of their direct markets.
Mhm.
But there's a great opportunity there to impact the people through the game. They love it. Uh, what was that in 2021? No, sorry, 2022. The Ghana Basketball Association had over 1,000 new youth sign up. That's
Oh,
something that was unheard of. And through some help with some organizations here, including Groove by Groove, which is a Black fraternity organization, we were able to help finance the first national tournament there that took place in 27 years. And that was at Cape Coast University in December of 2022. And it was a 12-day event. We had great participation, and we just hope to build on that so that Ghana does become part of the bigger plan. Because again, it's more than just the sport. There's a lot of economic opportunity, educational opportunities that will come with bringing organizations such as NBA Africa to the country. So, you see it every day. Last week, Global Citizen announced they'll be having part of their Move Africa Festival in Ghana for 2024. You have Boris Kojo, the actor, and his family that do yearly conferences there. So the opportunity and the people are there, and Ghana has become I guess my baby, my second baby as well. So it's
right.
where my footprint started in Africa,
Mhm.
but through that work, there have been so many other opportunities that I have not been able to say no to that have come my way because just the opportunity to help, and
Yeah.
it takes so little sometimes. It may be just a basketball or a book to send over there. In July of last year, we helped an organization launch a library in Kapanga. It's the first standalone library in the region, and it directly serves 400 orphans and youth in the area. And that was a project that was launched by a friend of a friend, and she did it for her 40th birthday. She had this passion and idea she was going to give school packets to 40 kids, and through that, she just saw a bigger purpose. And so instead of going and asking people to donate, she started writing books. So she wrote four children's books, and through that was able to finance the building of the library. So I, along with another great partner from Sustainable Initiatives to Africa, Nene Kojo, were able to help her with the opening and the launch of that project. And In addition to that, I've just recently joined the board of directors of Hoop Dreams Africa, which is a Zambia based basketball program. And, I'm just looking to keep going. If we can affect all countries in Africa through the sport, that's what we want to do.
Has the Ghanaian government sort of like helped out in terms of basketball courts, facilities? I know Ghana is primarily a soccer country, or football as they like to call it, like the rest of us.
So the crazy thing about Ghana is that they have only one indoor court,
Okay.
playable indoor court in the entire country. So, initially when we went in, we had a plan to build a facility, in a whole type of entertainment facility where they could play basketball and hold concerts and conventions and things of that nature. But unfortunately, the situation in Ghana, the political situation, the economic situation, is very unstable sometimes.
Right.
And so it takes a lot of foreign investment to make projects like that come into fruition.
Mhm.
So we are still working steadfast towards that. And, they have been assistive as much as they can be. I have a great partnership with the Ghana Library Authority
Mhm.
on this literacy initiative, but there just isn't a lot of internal funding
Right.
for these types of projects. So we're looking. If anybody is out there that is interested in getting involved in Ghana, basketball, soccer, whatever sport, literacy, please reach out. We are actively seeking sponsors and make these things happen.
You also mentioned another project that you're working on. I guess it's part of, under the same umbrella, uh, in terms of mental health. And I got really interested when you sent me that message because it
Yes.
reminded me of somebody who actually I'm going to send this off to her when we're done here. Uh, there's a lady I became acquainted with named Fonda Bryant out in Charlotte, and she reached out to me because like part of what I do is just I just talk about halls of fame, and she's the daughter of '70s soul singer Johnny Taylor,
Okay.
and she has become a suicide prevention activist for the Black community, and she had told me that it's just something that is a stigma. Obviously, me as a
Okay.
white Canadian, I can't talk about that at all. But
So yeah.
is that something that you find also?
Definitely, it's
Okay.
not something, mental health care and seeking help is not something that's often talked about within our communities, and especially amongst athletes. I think that sometimes when you are uh, performing at a high level on many stages, whether it be academics or athletics, you fall outside of the normal um, integration points for mental health services. So people don't normally look at you and say, hey, oh, maybe they need some help or maybe they need to talk to somebody. But
Mhm.
oftentimes they are some of the people that do the most need it because of the pressures that come along with those things. And so this particular project that I'm working on with two former NYU students or two recent NYU graduates, is Lamar and Kenny Dreams. They created this activation called Music is Mental. And there's lots of studies that show the correlation between music, therapy, and mental health. And we saw it as another way to connect to youth. We all follow our favorite artists and want to come see them play or perform. And so if you bring them into a setting where they can come out and see a concert, but also have a kind of roundtable discussion with these artists about maybe experiences that they've had, mental health struggles that they had, or strategies to combat these things, it kind of opens up the conversation and makes it a little bit more palatable to younger people. And so we are launching this activation, Music is Mental. We're hoping in 2024, we'll be working with an organization down in Prince George's County, Maryland, that does a yearly activation with Bowie State Graduate Student Association around mental health as to launch this. And so we hope to eventually bring these activations to HBCU campuses around the country. Um, So yeah, again, I just really have a passion to get involved and help people where I may have felt that I may have needed some help and didn't have the courage or the skill set to find it when I was younger.
Okay.
So,
Can I ask you some basketball related questions?
of course, go
Okay.
ahead.
All
Don't
right.
ask me any stats though.
I'm sorry, don't ask.
No, any stats. Any
Oh,
stats.
no, 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 no. It's just I've taken a personal interest in the WNBA.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I find it fascinating that right now the two biggest names in the women's game are two college players, in Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. And what scares me
Absolutely.
is we've seen, and granted, television views don't necessarily mean what they used to because with
Mhm.
streaming and how the whole medium has changed. But having said that, in the championship final, in the women's final four, we saw 9 million people watch. We've never had a well. I every time I look this up, it changes, so I don't know how accurate this is. But from what I understand, in the WNBA, there might have only one or two games that actually drew over 1 million.
Absolutely.
I remember when I was younger, one of the big college stars that I would watch periodically. Granted, there was a lot less television back then because I'm older than dirt. So, but I remember Rebecca Lobo, but then it didn't translate. Uh,
Okay.
Diana Taurasi was a major star, but again, it didn't necessarily translate. What do they need to do for them to remain big stars? Because I worry that their star level may
Mhm.
plummet, and that should not. I can't think of where this is the case in any other sport when you go from
Yeah.
college to the pro ranks.
Okay. So I think that they are fortunate to be playing and living in this era here. I think that was true back in your day. Definitely back in my day, I was at probably the first Liberty game. I'm a big Rebecca Lobo, Teresa Witherspoon,
Mhm.
and that era. But Caitlin and Angel and the young women now, they have opportunities that these women didn't have. And I think that they'll be okay. The WNBA is, like I said, is growing every day. The WNBA finals drew great viewership or big viewership this year as well. And companies are taking interest. And once the sponsorships and companies get involved, that's when the tides change. And um, I will say big shout out to LSU. My former teammate Daphne Mitchell is actually an assistant coach there, and
Oh,
I was in Dallas last year for the Final Four as well. But I think that the times are changing, and there's an opportunity, but there has to be an investment from the league side, and that's where um, they've lacked so far. They're not putting the money that they put into the NBA into the WNBA, whether it be facilities, travel, things of that nature. And those are things that are important and count towards morale and
mhm.
helping to bring players back. And also realizing that there's different issues that women will face within their career, whether it be becoming mothers or wives or things like that, that will impact playing a little differently than
Mhm.
a man or becoming a husband on that level. And offering women opportunities to express these feelings in a safe space. So that goes right back to our mental health, providing those types of services and just making sure that they have every opportunity. But we'll see. Like you said, Angel and Caitlin, they are anomalies right now with what they're doing in the NIL space. Um, but I think they definitely do have the potential to turn the tide of that league, of the league.
Mhm. Okay. And where can everyone sort of find all the work that you do? And where if they want to donate?
So right now we're working on our major website, but you can also always look for me on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
It's Maya Monroe, MayaMonroe. Please visit the school website, which is earlmonroeschool.org, to see all the great work that they're doing in the Bronx. And of course, keep note to United to Beat Malaria Foundation, because we'll be doing some great things in Africa and here in the US to bring light to malaria treatment and prevention in the next couple of months. And I don't want to just make you think that it's an Africa problem. Malaria is prevalent in over about 20 to 25 countries globally, in South America as well as the island nations. I will also say Belize, which is one of my home countries as well. My mother is from Belize and Honduras.
Okay.
They actually eradicated malaria
Oh,
2 years ago, and I actually just read today Cape Verde eradicated it as of January 12th of this year. So, like I said, there's not a lot of issues that we get involved in. We get behind peace, world peace, and finding cures for breast cancer, but many of us won't see the fruition of those goals in our lifetime. Malaria is something that we can see the fruition of in just 2, 3 years if we make the investment. So we're really pushing for those. So look out. Oh, and you can also follow me on Instagram at LakeGirl823.
okay. Well, thank you
Don't
so
tell
much for being a
don't
part
tell
of
my Nick
this.
fans.
Yeah, I was sort of a bit thrown off by that, but
Well, I am a lifelong Kobe Bryant fan.
okay.
8/23 is his birthday. So that's been my Instagram since I was probably about 10, and I will keep it forever.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much for being a part of this show, and
Thank you so much, Clark. I really appreciate you having me on. And,
my pleasure.
I don't know that I'm that interesting, but I really appreciate the opportunity to share what I'm doing with you and your viewers.
Well, thank you so much. Well, to all those watching, check out all the other shows that I like to call the Bucknerverse. And wherever you are, wherever you may be, make it a great day, because unless the time travelers are right, it's not coming again.
Exactly. Take care, guys.
All
Bye
right,
bye.
thanks.